You say theater is really about making visible as a community, as kind of this shared seeing and meaning making. What is the role of senses in your line of work?
I think a lot of the work that we're doing is helping people get out of living in their conceptual framework and trusting in their sense perceptions, that there's enormous wisdom there, but it's almost like you know, what we see or how we see and hear and feel, I mean, as well as taste and smell, but is a direct experience of something. It's a direct experience of the world that we live in, but so often, very quickly, it gets wrapped up in some kind of downloading, some kind of conceptual framework. It means something, and it doesn't stay open. It's like the sense perceptions are like an opening. And there's so much direct meaning that just comes from hearing a sound or feeling something, and yet very quickly we sort of damp it down with a kind of meaning. So I think that partially what we're doing is developing more sensitivity, and the senses more open, and we're more resonant to our sense world. But it also means that we can trust that more. We don't have to retreat quickly into like what we think about it. There's a book about the work of an American artist named Robert Irwin, and the name of this book is "Seeing is Forgetting the Name of What You See." I often think that's true about feeling, in terms of using the body, the eyes, the ears. Hearing is forgetting the name of, you know, by the name it already has a concept, and then it has a like or I don't like, or it's good or bad or whatever. But that just freshness of just being curious, almost beginner's mind. Oh, you know, what's this? Kind of more openness is, I think, what we're working with in the social presencing theater. And also the practice of doing that gives us more trust that that's a kind of intelligence. That's, you know, we think of intelligence as just how clever our concepts are, but in this case it's just how resonant experience is with us. It's something like that.
Sometimes you're talking about the three bodies that as human beings we can engage with. So what are the three bodies?
So part of our practice is really embodiment, feeling that we're living in this particular body. And not just floating around in our thoughts, but actually feeling that lower back and feel the legs, feel the feet on the ground. And when we do that, we start to feel more grounded and connected to this big earth body, to the Mother Earth body. So we're not floating on top of the earth like a ghost, but we actually feel like we're rooted to the earth, and with sense of contact with this earth, feeling our connection with this earth seems like such an important part. Even so, right now we can feel that we have a connection. Our body, the earth body, kind of vertical connection. And of course the sense of space. But the social body could be our family, could be our team, could be the whole organization, could be a visit to the shopping mall, but we're always in social bodies. We're always moving closer or further away, or sitting up or standing down, but oftentimes we don't feel it. We don't feel the connection. And it isn't a conscious big deal thing. You know, I can be sitting in the subway car or something, and no one's thinking, oh yeah, I can tell we're in a social body. But I notice this. I notice that people are reading, some are standing and listening to their earbuds. But the feeling is that we're all somehow interconnected, even though we don't know one another, and no one, you know, it's not like we have to turn and say, hello, how are you? But there's a feeling of being part of a social body, of being included in a social organism. And then you leave that and you go somewhere else, and there's always this feeling that we're kind of co-creating something. So the social body then is what I think we're really trying to investigate more in our social presencing theater work. What is that sort of social fabric? And how can the shared knowing of that social fabric or social field be the source of real creativity and innovation and real compassionate action? We're making an assumption that every single being on the planet has intelligence. Every person has kindness and an ability to feel another person's kind of suffering and their joy. Every person has courage to step out of their own convenience and their own conventional way of doing stuff when called on. It's in the social fields that we work in, and how do we see it? How do we recognize that? Rather than, oh, here's a problem, and oh, there's a person that's not doing the right thing, and this isn't working. But how do we actually see the potential, just the potential goodness in that situation? And let that be what expresses itself, rather than all the things that are not working, or how you wish this person were different or something, which is true, and we notice it, but we're actually functioning on another level. I just have had the very good fortune of having great teachers, and those people, I can have my complaints, oh, I've got this and this problem and blah, 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 but that is not who those people see, right? They see this, perfectly good human being with great heart and great ability to help out. And they don't pay much attention to the part that, it's not that it isn't painful. And we're not talking about denial here, but we are talking about recognizing that in each other, and recognize that in groups and teams, and, bringing that part of not just individuals, but of how we see it in one another, and how we actually see it in systems and in social networks, social relationships. It's there, like it's there. But so how do we bring it out is one of my questions about social presencing theater.
We're here in Berlin yesterday morning. You told me the best one-line summary I ever heard of Theory U.
It is a profound
What was
teaching,
that?
and I'm not going to do it justice, but it's a very famous teaching in the Buddhist tradition that says that when you throw a stick to a dog, the dog will chase after the stick. But when you throw a stick to a lion, the lion will turn to see who threw the stick. So there's something about chasing after perceptions, chasing after thoughts, which I think is mostly, in my experience, why I don't feel my body. It's because I'm just generating a lot of mental activity, and the habit is to follow after that, to be fascinated or horrified or whatever by whatever. And so part of the Theory U is this invitation to turn around and say, now, what is actually generating all that thought? What is who is this person? And are they just a little isolated bubble generating this and that? Or is that quite a vast, open potential of loving kindness and courage in this world? You know, like, who is that? What is that?
When you look at the dogs and the lions, right? When the way we relate to social systems, to the social field, in most social systems today is like dogs, right? We run after the sticks. We only kind of attend to the forms, kind of the outcomes. We are not attending to the sources out of which social action is being generated. Mm-hmm. And that, I remember a conversation with Francesco Varela, right? So, who also has a very close relationship with you. And when I asked him about really what mindfulness really, and so in his essence of the meditative and the phenomenological process, what does that really mean? It means kind of suspension, redirection, letting go. What is the essence of redirection? Moving from object to source, right? So that really is what's the journey down the U. We have practices that do that for the level of the individual, but to do that on the level of social systems, on the level of the social field, very difficult. And that's, I think, where the body of work that you have been co-creating with a number of us really is so important, because it can now, for most of us now, acting in social system as a dog is not that fun, right? So the aspiration to moving, to choosing the stance of the lion, kind of to connecting to source is there, but the skill, the practice is lacking. And I think that's really what you have been leading to co-create, and that's what we are so excited to moving into as a global community this time.